I don't know how long today's going to be. I'm hoping to keep it to around 20 minutes for all of the events. But anybody who is here watching on the live stream, thank you. It's great. Did get a bunch of feedback, did get some responses back from this one. So it does look like it's getting out there. A big shout out to, I guess, all of those people that apparently had taken a look at the post from the Google Plus out in Europe, Asia, Australia, saw coming all over the world. So big thank you to those guys. It does mean a lot, and it's actually very, very surprising to see that type of response and reaction to sending these links out. So thank you to those people, and obviously anybody here locally as well. But enough about that. Getting into this, I just wanted to open up the thing by saying thanks to a couple of the sponsors first. Without Oanda, I wouldn't have been able to have this type of setup. We wouldn't be able to do this type of streaming. Microsoft Canada with the Web Not War. Again, big thanks to those guys as well. Having the support from our sponsors it means a lot. So I just want to make sure that they are gratefully thanked before anything happens here. So with that being said, again, welcome guys. If you do have any questions or reactions or you want to interact, the Twitter account is right here, the little doobly-doo here. And I will have in the doobly-doo underneath on YouTube after this, all of the various different methods of getting in contact with me and with the group and getting involved. So you'll be able to do all of that any way you want to. But getting into it. So I'm a bit late to this bit of news, but I really wanted to bring it up, mainly because of how much it impacts the group, both here in Toronto as well as internationally in the developer community, or at least the web developer community. Microsoft and Windows, and again, this is completely separate from what the sponsorship is. This is only on my own record. So just want to make sure that that's clear. They've released back in late February, almost the last couple of days of February, IE10 for Windows 8. So if you are, for Windows 7. So if you are using a Windows 7 product or a Windows 7 computer, you now have the ability, and please, for the love of all that is holy and Gutenberg, updates to Internet Explorer. They've run a massive campaign saying, oh, you should be updating to this, and Internet Explorer is doing this, and it's so fast and it's so flashy. Quite frankly, I cannot stand their new advertising and marketing campaign, but that's coming from the design side of me, right? So that being said, this is a big deal for anybody that's a developer, primarily because all of those people that were using Internet Explorer 9 on Windows 7 were still held back. They couldn't update, even though we were trying to push them. IE10 is leaps and bounds forward than what IE9, IE8, and God forbid anything past that. But unfortunately, they hadn't been able to use it in the past. Now they're able to use it. Still, we have XP and Windows 2000, which corporations are still using, which still can't update, but they should be looking at obviously migrating to a future platform to begin with anyway. So it's really interesting to see these types of moves coming from Microsoft, because in the past, they've always been the type of company to have it so you're always able to use, or at least several versions back, older software. With this new update comes this mentality of, if there's an update to the browser, it will automatically update. So you're pretty much forced to update the browser for any security holes, updates to CSS recognition, media queries. And there is a bunch of stuff that is still missing from Internet Explorer 10 that I'm sure the developer team will be coming to add. That is a big benefit for any developer out there. That means that you no longer have to, or at least to a lesser extent, be, damn you, IE, you need to switch to using Chrome instead, which is good because there's still a lot of those grandparents or users out there that are forced to use this type of product. So that was really good. It's really big news. But I wanted to know what your thoughts are. Are you seeing this as a progressive move forward? Is this a step in the right direction for developer relations? I think there's been a lot of progress recently of Microsoft reaching out to the communities, reaching out to developers, and trying to pretty much apologize for quite a few versions of the browser, which held back a lot of innovation and a lot of technology. I know I, for one, have broken a lot of keyboards trying to get things like IE6, 7, and 8 to function like what every other browser had. And granted, there were some additions. CSS gradients were introduced, not the right standard way, but at least there. Font families and having web fonts, that is actually something to thank IE for. But this is hopefully the right step forward for all developer relationships. So tell me what you think. Put it down in the comments. I look forward to seeing what your thoughts are on this transition and this mentality of updates. I did see, or actually interacted, Matt Fabb of the Toronto developer community. We were at what was it? The FITC Spotlight event a couple of days ago. Yesterday, actually, it was. And he was forced to actually reset the computer. Now, I think this is probably similar to, or the same thing as what this is, where he had Windows 8 installed. And what ended up happening was he kept trying to push that, update in 4 hours, update in 4 hours, update in 4 hours, which you used to be able to do. This forced him in the middle of a presentation to reboot the computer. So all of his notes he was taking, he was doing a bunch of stuff on there, frantically trying to, save, and then it just shut down. There was no warning, no nothing. So it can be bad, it can be good, but it was an interesting little thing, or I guess it'd be a problem that he found with it. But it does mean that they are looking to make sure that people are maintaining those security holes and those updates. So that's that. I'd love to hear what you think. Next thing. So Brian Best, a gentleman or a person that I've seen in the developer community a bunch of times, been into a few of the events, reached out to me today because I had said, again, this is to everybody, give me your topics. What do you want to hear about? What do you want to learn about? Is there any types of tips, tricks, and tools that you want to see? And he had said, relevant to a current project, I'm assuming a project that he's working on, can I talk about any small little quick Twitter API integrations? Now you're going to see there's been a little bit of a conversation back and forth of saying, what type of thing are you looking for? There was a little type of spam bot here, but we were able to get rid of that, or at least I was able to flag it for spam at one point, but it did pick it up. But I wanted to touch on this briefly. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, and I don't generally think that I need to plug something here, but I am working on a Twitter project that I'm not going to mention, mainly because I'm not trying to use this stream as a self-promotional thing. It's all about you guys, the community. So I definitely have some interaction with the Twitter API, but generally done via the GET search requests and the older version of OAuth, which they're just migrating away from. So unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to speak too much about the OAuth side. However, in the question, Brian writes down, I'd like to easily send a preset tweet from their device. So I'm going to assume that you mean from a web application, or that you be able to pass this to Twitter somehow into a browser or whatever. If not, then it might be a different manner. You might need to open up a window somehow. But the way that you can preset a tweet into this is actually by using something through their developer API docs, which, again, I'll put the link in the little doobly-doo at the bottom. If you go into the tweet button, what you can do is you can see a giant list of various string parameters that you can put in. For instance, URL, so the URL is any URL that you're trying to promote. The via, whatever you want to pronounce it as, is if you have the application, for instance, if you had HTML Toronto, HTML5 _ Toronto, and you had a tweet button, or I had a tweet button on that, I would be able to say via HTML5 _ Toronto, and it would then mention this is where it's coming from. So it pre-composes that. The text is any text that you want to put into that tweet. That's the customized tweet, minus any hashtags or the via. And then you also have a hashtags, which is right here. So here's the list of, Thank you, Twitter, for not having centered a line and whatever. But you can put down here the hashtags that you don't include the hashtag in that, but you say this hashtag, comma, this hashtag, comma, this hashtag with no spaces. So as an example, what you can do is you can write a simple https twitter.com/share, and then having the standard query variables of saying something like text equals, right? Thank you for that. So you can have text equals what your text is, and then hashtags that you want to add to that. For instance, here I have text equals Bryant Best. It's simple to create custom links for Twitter. And then streaming Sunday for the hashtag. So let me just quickly say, make this into queryable text, make this into an actual link. And then if I paste this directly into a URL, or if I sent this to, or sent the user to, say, a new window or a new pop-up or something, and I push enter, right? What it does is it precomposes that and allows the user to say, oh, I want to change this to this. But what this allows you to do is just have a nice little, you don't have to write anything. We've done the extra work for you, right? Now, to do anything above and beyond that, like tweet from the user, it's generally bad practice to say, just tweet. Without giving the user some form of control, at least in my opinion. There are ways of doing this. There are some applications that do this as well. Personally, I definitely promote not doing that and always giving the user the ability to change or modify what you're tweeting out, or even to cancel by closing the window or a cancel button. This just makes sure that you're not doing something that they don't want you to do. Again, that's just a personal recommendation, but there are ways of doing that through the Twitter OAuth client, which unfortunately I'm not going to be able to go in and show right now, mainly because it has a lot of stuff that you need to dive into. For getting back and forth, for server interactions and storing session keys and working with a database. Perhaps this is something that we can do in a workshop sometime at one point, or as one of the sessions, perhaps, a work study, or a, whatchamacallit? Oh my gosh, the case studies. So we could do a case study at one point, and perhaps when you have your application done. So that's minor bit on using Twitter and pre-composing a message for Twitter to have. Hopefully that answers your question. If not, please tweet. Let's see if we can get the reaction, or let's see if we can get the message fulfilled there. So next big thing. So we do have an event coming up this coming Thursday. The event is one that I think will definitely be interesting a lot of people. The speakers for this event, or the speaker for the event, has the two speakers for this. Taz, who I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name for fear that he will just be angry at me and not want to speak anymore. He's the leader of Toronto JavaScript, or JavaScript Toronto meetup group here. TorontoJS.com, I believe, is the URL for that. But again, I'll put that in the doobly-doo. He is coming in alongside of one of the gentlemen he works with to talk about how to develop for the AR drone 2.0 using just pure JavaScript and connecting to the device through a browser. So for anybody who doesn't know what a drone is, what it is it's a quadcopter type device that has a camera on the front and a camera on the bottom, along with 4 rotary blades on each of the corners. Now, what's really interesting about this is Parrot, who develops this, has not only released applications for free on App Store and on Android Play Station, the Play Store, or Google Play Store. They have also opened up an API. So you're able to go in here and see some of the open source software that you can create and build a tool or build an application to interact with the drone itself. Now, the firmware is on the device itself is not accessible to the developers. However, if you build an application for BlackBerry, a Windows Phone application, perhaps another Android or iPhone application, which there are a plethora out there of, you're able to go in, download the SDK, open it up, and write your own. Now, with this API also comes the ability to, say, see the video streams that are coming in from either of the two cameras. You can do things like attaching a joystick, or better yet, do I have it here? No, it's at work. Perhaps even attaching something like a makey with an Arduino attached to it directly to the drone itself as well. One of the things that I'd love to see, and perhaps this is a challenge for anybody out there that has one of the drones, is having it so that the VR glasses, which that brand new one that's coming out with the scope, might be a good one for this, or the MyView glasses as well. I think I have a pair of those sitting around here somewhere too. Yeah, I know, I have a tech problem. I love myself some tech. Having it so that you can put these on the video glasses, and then standing somewhere or lying down on something and having the makey give you the ability to control the drone so it looks like a VR and you're flying. So I challenge somebody to do that. That would be outstanding. But if you want to take a look at some of the API stuff beforehand, I do recommend visiting the projects.ardrone.org /wiki. There's a slew of different stuff there that you'll be able to go to, that I'll provide the link to as well in the description. It's really interesting stuff. The fact that you can go in and develop with this using socket connection or using JavaScript to interact with it is just phenomenal. And we'll be going through a lot of this stuff this coming Thursday. So the interesting thing that we have as well with this, and why I'm so excited about this event, and why I think a lot of you guys, both here in Toronto and internationally, will absolutely love this, is the fact that we're hosting this at Mars Commons, or the Discovery District of Mars, which is this giant area. So we're doing the event, first of all, in the small little tiny room, about 35 to 45 people that can fit into this room. So the registrations are open now, $5 to register, only because of the attendance problems that we've been having. Want to make sure, if you registered, come on out. Seriously, if you can't make it out to this, you need to cancel the registration beforehand. That being said, register for this event. It's going to be outstanding, because after the presentation, or about 3/4 of the way through the presentation, we're going to take two drones. So we've got my drone here that I have, and they have a drone as well. I have a bunch of extra batteries that are all going to be charged up, and we're going to be using the browser version and the phone version to control the drone in the giant area of Mars Commons, right? So we're going to be flying up and down all over the place for this, and really seeing how far and what we can do with the drone and just a web browser. So I strongly suggest take a look at it, find out how to interact with this, and if you are coming out to the event, see if you can build something in a browser, and then when it's your turn, perhaps, because we'll see if we can get some of the interaction for the people coming out to this, that will have you connect via your browser into that, and then control the drone that way. So it would be really interesting to see what types of interfaces that you guys come up with, what type of user experience you have, what you're doing with a video stream, and then if you're using any other third-party devices, like the Makey, like an Xbox controller, like a PlayStation controller, or what would be really neat is a Wii remote, so you're controlling via the geo-access of a Wii remote. So tons of really innovative and creative ways that we can do this. And this is your chance for doing or interacting and playing with a couple of the devices. So that was that. So wrapping this up, again, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Again, Toronto JavaScript group. If you go to torontojs.com, you'll be able to sign up for the registration. They don't do events very often. They just did one last week. Their next one, I believe, is spring, summertime, and I believe it's going to be a social one. So you can come, interact, enjoy, network. There's not a lot of workshops that are going on with it, but it's seriously a very, very great group. Their last talk, they just talked about a ton of things like creating, well, first of all, the drone. They did a miniature version of the drone talk there. They had also done encryption in the browser via JavaScript as a talk, and one more, which unfortunately I can't remember. Oh, right. So cryptography and then frameworks. So they also had a gentleman from My Planet come in and talk about JavaScript frameworks and PHP frameworks and having them work together. So it was really, really interesting and really, really engaging. Next thing, big announcement. So for those of you who were able to attend last week's event for the DevTO, JavaScript Toronto, and HTML Toronto groups, Code Along or workshop with Microsoft Windows as part of the sponsorship of all three groups, we have just launched our second event instructions, which is going to be more of a Code Along, where you're going to basically be able to create JavaScript games, applications on this. There's one or two presentations, but the remainder of the day is going to be code alongs, demonstrations from community speakers and community specialists here in Toronto. If you can come out to that, we're going to have it at the Burrows on April 6th. Again, link down below, just where you guessed it would be. We've got a ton of great people already. Gabriel Perez and Michael McDonald, doing a student in video game design. So he's working. It's interesting. Sign up, register, come on out. It's going to be a great time. We're at the Burrows again. Internet all hooked up, fiber. You guys, anybody who knows me in the past knows that had a bit of an issue with the fiber connection there in the past, but everything should be good to go. I will likely be bringing the Parrot again, and possibly Taz will as well. So if you have something that you're building between this coming event this Thursday and then, we'll definitely be able to see if we can play with some of that stuff. There's more details in the event info on the page. By all means, go read it, have fun. And if you have any questions about it, please don't hesitate. HTML5_Toronto on Twitter. I didn't even mention, we have our new Facebook page as well that you can interact with. Unfortunately, I need a little bit more likes before I have a custom URL, so get searching. I've got it on Twitter. Go look, find it, give me the like, just so that we can lock in that URL. You can unlike it afterwards, but whatever, just let's have that and lock in that HTML Toronto URL on Facebook. So DevTO, part of that's meeting it, and then a couple events that aren't mine that I just want to make sure that are known out there. So there's a bunch of groups and a bunch of community leaders here in Toronto that are going to be working with NASA to provide Toronto Space Apps Challenge. So there are a bunch of sponsors in this. ROM is involved with this. HackerNest is involved with this. B-Notions downtown. It's going to be a huge thing that is just going to show how Toronto can put itself on the map. But they are having international events as well. So unfortunately, I don't have the link up for that at the moment, but take a look for NASA challenges in your area. It's coming up, I believe, mid to late April. So that is something that any developer out there should absolutely take a look at. And last but not least, FITC Toronto is coming up. I am not a speaker this year. However, the team behind this is doing outstanding work. They've got a lineup of speakers that just, again, year after year, blows me away. So if you get a chance, go take a look at that. I believe the URL for this one is just going to be fitc.ca/event/TO13. So take a look at this. Tons of great people, tons of great speakers. Always a fantastic event to get to. And then hopefully in the future, I might actually have some discount codes as well for us to give away, either on the stream or in the newsletter as well, which you can sign up for through the both the Twitter page and the Facebook page at the moment. I still need to put the link on the Toronto website. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Again, if you have any other questions, comments, ideas, or topics for next week's Streaming Sunday, shoot me off an email. We're on Google+, we're on Facebook. There's absolutely no reason for you guys not to be able to contact us. And without that, with anything else being said, happy coding.